I'm excellent. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So I tell you how I heard about you. I saw you briefly on the Breakfast Club. Was that how long ago was that?
I believe it was 2017, 18. I believe.
Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. And then and then I lost track of you. And then when the letters came out about the police officer
Ray Wood.
Ray Wood, didn't you just start, because I do so much Malcolm X and Nation of Islam research, you would just flood every time I opened up my YouTube, you were there. And I was like, man, we got to have this conversation. You know what I mean? Because you see the picture behind me. You can obviously tell what side of the fence I'm on, but I'm very interested. First, do you want to introduce my audience to who is Dr. Wesley Muhammad before we dive into this topic of conversation?
I'm happy to just dive.
Okay, well, let's go. Well, let's go then. Let's go. So my first question is, did you hear the daughter say that the letter was false?
I did, yes.
And I was curious why you didn't retract your videos or make an addendum.
Oh, no retraction, no addendum is necessary. I love we knew about Raymond Wood long before Reggie Wood published his letter. I watched his daughter's interview closely. She said she wants, obviously, to remember her father as a hero rather than the villain that he was. And she's fighting to make the plaques and accolades that he got from the NYPD be the symbol of his work rather than Malcolm X laying prone on an Audubon ballroom stage as the symbol of his work. Now, she said, dear brother, that her father's work ended with the Statue of Liberty case. And everybody knows that that is absolutely not the case. He, with Gene Roberts, with McKinney Welch, was sent to the Black Panthers to infiltrate the Black Panthers. So we have what Reggie Wood's revelation provided was just another detail of confirmation of what we already knew from other sources. Now, I'll close it on this.
So you're taking over.
It's not just about the letter. If you read the book.
What book?
Reggie Wood's book. That's right here. And that's why it's important to be comprehensive.
I haven't read the book yet.
It's important. Mm-hmm. If we stop at the press conference with Brother Reggie and Brother Crump, and then we go to his daughter's statement and we stop there, see, that's an easy way out, but we have to be comprehensive. And then the book that lays out what Raymond Wood told Reggie, all of the details fit perfectly with everything that we already know. So this was not a revelation as much as it was confirmation.
Confirmation. So you would perceive the daughter as a falsehood, and you're going to lean on the fact of where everything fits in.
I know. I see the daughter as a loving daughter who seeks, rightly so, to remember her father as a hero. Remember, nobody wants to be associated with those horrific events of February 21st, 1965. But let's be honest. If everybody is to be vetted, emotion-free, if everybody is to have an accounting of their action on that day, of their role on that day. And I assume that's why you have me on your platform, because you expect or want the Nation of Islam to account for whatever role you think we had on that fateful day. And that's why I'm here. I'm happy to do so. But if nobody got or gets sentimental about us, everybody says that regardless of your feelings of the matter, we have to look at the facts coldly and objectively. Then likewise, Raymond Wood's daughter is a loving daughter, and I love her and honor her. But her desire to continue to see her father, who was a bossy agent, who was an infiltrator of the Black community. We would not give Gene Roberts a pass because his loved ones wants to rehabilitate him in a public square. So no, I don't see her as anything other than a loving daughter who wants her father, prefers her father to be remembered as a hero rather than a villain.
So you believe the Nation of Islam played no part in the assassination of Malcolm X?
The Nation of Islam as an institution played no part in the murder of Malcolm X. The Nation of Islam is not responsible for the murder of Malcolm X. That is a fact.
If one of the shooters admits to being a follower of the Nation of Elijah Muhammad, doesn't that constitute him as a Nation of Islam member?
Well, I would like you to tell me which shooter. We can go down the list and talk about all of the shooters and properly identify the shooters. But let me state this general point and principle.
No, we don't have to be general. We can be exact because the facts are there.
Yeah, it is. But don't miss the forest for the trees. Now, I'm about detail, Brother Frederick. I say God is in the details, and truth resides in nuance. In order for us to see nuance and appreciate it, we can't miss the forest for the trees. The general principle that I want to invoke is we must distinguish personal participation from institutional responsibility, because individuals who were behind the guns on that day had some, to various degrees, association with the Nation of Islam. That doesn't make the Nation of Islam institutionally any more culpable, as the fact that you would be better, you would be more accurate, but I would not advise you to say it. But if you did say it, you would be more accurate to say the Organization of African American Unity, Malcolm's organization, murdered Malcolm X. You would be more accurate to say that. Do you know why? The shooters were from Mosque number 25. But those who trained the shooters as assassins were not from the Nation of Islam. The trainers of the shooters, the real assassins, were from Malcolm X's own organizations, Organization of Afro-American Unity, and Muhammad Mosque Incorporated. So if the trainers of the shooters, the trainers of the assassins, the master assassins, weren't taking orders from Chicago, they weren't taking orders even from Newark. The trainers of the assassination of the assassins were those around Malcolm X himself, which is why Malcolm X didn't trust any of those around him. It was an inside job, the lowest hanging fruit is that his murder was an inside job, but we can go man by man and identify the highest hanging fruit, because even invoking James 67X Shabaz's responsibility, y'all like to identify.
I know, but you're just filibustering. I just asked a simple question. If a killer, if
and
a person,
a detailed answer.
No, it's not it's not, because if you want to go to the origin of military training, you got to go to you can go to the U.S. government, which
we will.
No, let me finish. Which is the origin of militarized training. So if you could say the Malcolm's team trained them, where did the Nation of Islam get their origins of training from? So I mean,
but we're not talking about.
Let me finish.
The Nation of Islam as an institution. We're talking about the murderers of Malcolm X.
No, I know, but we don't have to stroke with a broad brush, because we have 50.
We're not. We got names. We're being very specific.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I invoked the name of James 67X. I invoked the trainers.
Ask the question. Let me respond to you. Okay. I let you talk, and then I responded, and you cut me off.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
No, you don't have to serve me. We just gonna have a casual conversation. We're gonna get hot and cold, wherever we want to go.
And in every temperature, it's yes, sir, because you are my brother. That's how we are trained. And I don't stop my training because I'm on your platform, dear brother. It's yes, sir, and no, sir, because you're my brother. And this is a conversation of respect. I respect you, as difficult as it may get. I still respect my brother.
I know. So the simple question is, if Tal Myers, we'll call him by his original name, Thomas Hagen, admits that
that's not his name.
Okay, well we can
Thomas Hager.
Thomas Hager. Okay. If he says he is a follower of Elijah Muhammad and he went and got the guns, how can you exclude him from not being a nation, not being a member of the nation? It's really simple. He admits to it in an affidavit. I thought I was right. He said it in an interview. I thought I was doing the right thing. And then when I went to jail, the Nation of Islam did not support me. Was I a puppet? He said he was 50-50 on it. You've seen the interview, and I'm pretty sure many people have seen the interview. So at the end of the day, if you're going off, and that's why I wrote this down, being comprehensive and details. If a man has a consistent story for 65, 75, for 25 years, 1977 was the affidavit, and 1980 he gave another. For 25 years, he said the same story. You said comprehensive. And he said, and he's been very consistent. Doesn't that make it an absolute that he was a member of the Nation of Islam?
No.
Okay.
He has been consistent. And you are not really being comprehensive. Let's walk through it. So now let's have a dialogue, dear brother. This is not a debate, it's a conversation. So let's be clear on what we're talking about, because we aren't always talking about the same thing at the same time. Right? So let's talk about the 5 assassins that showed up on that day. I'm happy to start with Thomas Hare. We have to talk about William 25X Bradley in particular. But let's start with Thomas Hare. I saw the video, my dear brother, that was put up with my brother and colleague, student minister Nuri Muhammad, in which it said Nuri Muhammad has lied.
That's not where we're at now. See, you're changing to gain the court.
We're talking about Thomas Hare. We're talking about, because that video is about Thomas Hare.
Yes.
So let's talk about Thomas Hare, dear brother.
y'all just us and fill it. But why we just can't have yes or no answers and questions?
No, absolutely not. Because God is in the details and truth resides in nuance. Now, dear brother, I don't know what you invited me on your platform to do if it isn't to engage this very difficult subject of Malcolm X. You are not going to hand me a script, dear brother, and I won't be.
I don't want to script.
So allow me. I'm a guest on your platform, brother.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So allow me to present. You are the host. This isn't a debate. You invited me to your platform to have a conversation about Malcolm X. So let's have a conversation and respect me as a guest on your platform that you invited me to.
I do respect you, but I'm just saying.
Well, then allow me to answer these questions, not from your script, but from my understanding. Now, the video you're asking about Talmadge hair. In the video I want to start with was a video about Talmadge hair. In that video, in which my brother, Minister Nuri Muhammad, is accused of lying.
No, he is lying.
So,
read the affidavit. Just read the affidavit. Read the affidavit word for word. We don't have to go into filibuster and just. I can screen share. If you would like,
why did you invite me on your platform? You seem mad.
No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Allow me. You invited me. I did not.
I know what all I'm saying is this,
brother.
All I'm saying is this.
If you want to have a conversation, don't disrespect me like that. I'm just offering our understanding to the subject, but you want to.
I'll read it after you're done. No problem.
But that's neither here nor there, because if you won't allow me,
I am. It's all you.
No, you're not.
It's all
you're in your feelings, dear brother.
I can't feel my feelings. Whether you're hot or cold, as long as we get to the finish line, as long as we
can't get to the finish line if you want to dictate the terms of my answer.
Feel free, Dad. Feel free, Dad. Feel free.
Well, so
I'm giving you a platform.
So what is this?
I am going because you're
so what you want to do it like that? No. You want to have you want to have a street dialogue, or you want to have a professional, productive conversation?
Go ahead, and I will rebuttal your statement. That's all. When you're done, I will rebuttal.
You will let me get done?
Absolutely.
All right, but you haven't yet. For some reason, you want to make this acrimonious.
No, all you.
Okay.
All you.
Nuri Muhammad neither lied nor was he mistaken. Nuri Muhammad said that in the affidavit or in the court transcript, because it's not just about the 2-page affidavit. It's also about the 3,000 pages of the court transcript, which I read every page of it, but I know it's easy to read 2 pages of a transcript and watch 5 minutes of a YouTube video. Talmadge hair was consistent from his confession during trial to his affidavits, to his interviews. What he said was he was a member of the Nation of Islam. He was registered. He got his X in 1962, but then he fell out. He got put on time. He came back to the Nation of Islam, but then he beat up a brother, Talmadge hair, and he got put on F time. Talmadge hair was in the Nation on February 21st, but he was not in the mosque. He was not an active minister. He was on F time. He was not in the mosque. Let me read to you from Muhammad Abdulaziz. Remember him, Norman 3X Butler, who went to jail with him? He was asked, was Hare a member of the Nation of Islam? And he answered, see, he was in the nation, but not in the mosque. Look at what he said. Well, he was, but not actively. He was inactive at the time. Something had happened. I don't know what it is. We know what it is, but he wasn't in good standing. So when Thomas Hare on trial, his words were, on that day, he wasn't a black Muslim, meaning he wasn't active in the mosque on that day because he was on F time. That's the truth of the situation, dear brother. There are many. So a trigger man who was put out of the mosque at the time he pulled the trigger, yet you still want to pin it on the institution that put him out of its ranks at the time. That's illogical. He did carry an X. He got it in 1962. So he was in the Nation of Islam, but he was not in the mosque. This is what our dear brother, Minister Nuri Muhammad, was saying accurately.
So was he following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad?
No. Well, in pulling that trigger, he was.
Was he
no?
Was he following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad?
The teachings of the Mosana boy Elijah Muhammad was leave Malcolm alone.
I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about what Elijah Muhammad said. We'll get there in a second. I'm just asking.
No, you're asking me, was he following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad? That's what you asked me. And I answered you, no. The teachings of the Mosana boy Elijah Muhammad on a matter we're discussing was leave Malcolm alone.
Okay, now, when he pulled the trigger, was he doing it in favor of the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
He was doing it because he was offered money to do it. He was offered $10,000 with the promise that if it went left for him, his family would get taken care of. But at the time of the trial in 1966, his family didn't see that money. So he gave a partial confession. Let's be clear. Again, I read all 3,000 pages of the court transcript. You're not going to get the full truth from the 2 pages of an affidavit. Now, if you read the court transcript, dear brother, you see that in his confession, there was an evolution and a vacillation in his confession in court. And every time since then, first, he identified 4 others with him. Then he identified 3, but we know that there were 6 active participants on that day. 1 to this day he hasn't confessed to, and also there's a reason Thomas Hare, before his release from prison, he spent the last 25 years on work release. 5 days out of his week he's at home in New York, not in jail. He had a sweet deal, Thomas Hare, because he gave a partial confession. He didn't tell it all. But what he did say, every single time he was asked, he was not operating off of orders from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said he didn't know who gave the order because Thomas Hare was likened unto Private First Class Loudon Downey, you know, from A Few Good Men, that zealous soldier who carried out an order from his immediate officer, but doesn't know who gave the ultimate order. Colonel Nathan Jessup, in this scenario, who gave the order, was not Minister James Shabazz from the Newark Mosque. The order came from the White House. And we are documenting that here.
Can I re-ask you the same question? Was he following the teachings?
I answered that explicitly. No, I answered it twice. No, he was not following the teachings of the Nation of Islam. The teachings were leave Malcolm alone.
Okay.
I answered that for you twice, dear brother.
Okay, so in the affidavit, he also says that he did it because Malcolm X was speaking disfavorable about Elijah Muhammad, and he thought that he was being very disrespectful, and he wanted to do it, and I'm paraphrasing, in honor of Elijah Muhammad. Is that a fact?
Yes, he two facts. No,
that's
no,
it.
No.
That's all I asked. Is it a fact? The answer is yes.
Is it a fact that there's two facts? He was a registered Muslim from 1962. He loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he was asked, he said the reason he agreed to the murder was because he was offered money. That's what he said. The reason he agreed to participate in the murder is because he was offered money. So the question isn't whether he loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or not. The question is who gave the order. And he never said, and he said specifically that he has no knowledge of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad giving such order. And so institutionally, the Nation of Islam cannot be held responsible. But I want to talk about William 25X Bradley. Talmadge Hayer was a private in that army. William Bradley, who the Netflix documentary focused on, and I hope we can unpack the Netflix Who Killed Malcolm X documentary. That documentary focused on William 25X Bradley. Now, what's important about William 25X Bradley, let me show something. Herald Tribune, February 23rd, 1965. Members of city's secret police unit saw Malcolm shot. In this article, it starts this way, quote, several undercover plainclothes policemen were in the Uptown meeting hall at the time Malcolm X was shot dead on Sunday. According to a high police official, several members of the outstanding unit, the highly secretive Bureau of Special Services, were in the ballroom. Several bossy members. Now, we can identify several of those bossy Bureau of Special Services members who were in the Audubon ballroom and witnessed the assassination, but not just witness. We're talking about William 25X Bradley, the shotgun shooter, the one who shot the fatal shot. Of those several bossy officers, intelligence officers on that day. We can identify for a fact 3 and possibly 4. We know, of course, Gene Roberts was a bossy agent. We know Raymond Wood, who was there, was a bossy agent. And we know McKinley Welch. Now, McKinley Welch is important, dear brother. Talmadge Hare got his instruction from an assistant secretary of Newark, Brother Benjamin. McKinley Welch was an assistant secretary in New York. He was also a boss agent in the Audubon. And he confessed that the reason he was in the Audubon that day with Gene Roberts and with Raymond Wood is that when Malcolm X left, that McKinley Welch was sent to infiltrate Mosque number 7. He became a assistant secretary like Brother Benjamin out in Newark. And when Malcolm left the nation, Welch's superiors ordered him to follow Malcolm to his organization. So those 3 were in the Audubon ballroom that day. And this article says they know the shooter who ran out the side door by the ladies' bathroom. We know that one was Talmadge Hare. I'm sorry, that one was William Bradley. Now, who is William Bradley? He's not just a Newark shooter. One of the most important eyewitnesses to the assassination is Roland Shepard, who was there that day, who did security. He was with the Socialist Party. And when he was over the security with Malcolm, whenever Malcolm would speak at the Militant Labor Forum, and Roland Shepard gives a very detailed eyewitness account. He saw, because he was one of the first ones in there, he saw William Bradley, though he didn't know his name at the time, sitting in the seat that he normally sits in. And when the shooting started, he saw William Bradley do the shooting. But this is what's important. 2 weeks after the assassination, the New York Police Department called Roland Shepard in to interview him about what he saw. Roland Shepard is on record saying that when he went to the New York Police Department, there he saw the same man who was at the Audubon ballroom wielding the shotgun. He saw William Bradley walk into an office at the New York City Police Station where he was being interviewed at. He is one of the most important eyewitnesses who identified not just Talmadge Hare on the scene with the shotgun, but 2 weeks later as an officer at the New York City Police Department.
Now, those are great details, but we already covered that because you just told me 10 minutes ago that yes, he was a follower of Elijah Muhammad. So I mean, those details are great, and it makes for a safe landing. I understand that, but we already answered that. You said yes, he was a follower of the nation.
Who are we talking about?
Hare. So we're clear on that. We're clear on that. I understand these details are great, and I'm not discounting or discrediting
in the details. We're talking about who's responsible for his murder. Talmadge Hare was a patsy. He tells you that because he believed in Honorable Elijah Muhammad, yet he was put out of the nation and he violated an instruction of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't care how much he says he loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, leave Malcolm alone, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said a hypocrite is not to be killed, you can participate in his killing and then say, I love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It don't work that way.
Okay, let's start from the genesis of and then we can come back and get back to the details. I don't mind you sharing the details, but I just like yes or no answers because it just makes
no, sir.
No. I'm saying no. You give your details.
That's not me.
No, I'm saying I'm comfortable with you giving your details.
Let's be real clear, there, brother. Let's be real clear. I respect. I will not try to script your questions to me.
No, I'm not trying
to presume to script my answers to you.
No, I'm not asking you to script your answer. I said
so please don't disrespect me like that. I'm not
disrespecting you.
Whatever you ask me, I'm going to answer it.
I said feel free. I'm telling you, feel free.
Yeah, but you're double speaking. You're saying feel free, but then you tell me only give you a yes or no.
I said in addition to. I said and feel free to give your details because it makes it easier for the people that are listening. Yeah. I didn't interrupt you when you spoke for 15 minutes just now. I'm just now. And
because if you want to know from me, then whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes, you're going to know from me. Now, if you invited me on your platform for another objective, then state it. And let's see if we can dance.
No, I don't.
We may or we may not be able to. All right. So if you invited me on your platform because you want to hear my and our perspective, then ask the question as you desire, but allow me to answer your question as I desire.
I did. I'm saying I did. Did I interrupt you? I did. You're just filibustering because you want to.
No, see, I'm not filibustering.
You want to be dominant, and I'm
answering your questions.
I know,
but you don't like.
No, I don't mind how you. No, I don't know. Your answer is fine because you answered my question.
Let's continue.
Now, can I just say something without interruption?
Yes, sir. You may.
You answered the question. It just took you 20 minutes. I'm comfortable with that.
But see, every time you say that, it's disrespectful.
How come I can't say something? How come I can't speak?
Because you're being insulting unnecessarily, dear brother.
I can't speak. I let you talk for 15 minutes.
You can speak.
I want to be respectful.
But you're being insulting for no reason at all.
How am I being insulting when I said you spoke for 20 minutes and you answered the question? I have no problem with that. If you said you're on my platform, I asked the question and you can answer it as long as you want.
Mm-hmm. So then if that's the case, we should have no more talk about how long my answers are.
I don't mind you. I just said that.
We should hear no more about how long my answers are.
I just said that.
Okay.
You can. I don't mind you having the dominant personality. I don't mind. I know you.
See, brother, that's the point I'm making. Game recognized game. I'm not game goofy. To insert comments like that, insulting comments like that, dear brother, you invited me to your show.
I haven't
talk about Malcolm, and I'm only offering you my perspective, but you are, in truth, being a weasel at moments.
Sure.
For what?
We're on different sides of the fence.
What? But we can be respectful and productive in our conversation.
Yeah.
Even if you think we're on different sides of the fence, you haven't discussed with me yet. So you don't know.
I can't even get a complete thought out with you. You overtalk me. You about to talk again. You called. I never called you out your name. You called me a weasel.
No, I didn't. Weasel. I didn't. We get into that point.
Can I speak? Can I speak? Can I speak? Sit for real.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, I will gladly ask another question.
Absolutely. And I will gladly answer it.
And you can answer it as long as you want. But I'm saying if you filibuster answer or elongate your answer, let's use the word elongate. How about that? If you elongate your answer, I mean, typically answers is either yes or no, I agree or disagree, and then you can filibuster you can put the answer any way you want. But let me ask the next question. Okay, so in 1963, right? because I try and organize. I have my notes right, but I try and organize it so people can follow the story. You understand? So in 1963, somewhere in there, Warif Muhammad has a conversation with Malcolm X, right? And he
February 1963.
It was early 63. I don't want to, feel free to interject the dates and all that, but I'm just trying to keep it aligned for the audience, right? He has a conversation, and he talks about, because this is, I in my opinion, I believe that this is the genesis of the beginning of the assassination of Malcolm X. Now, he has a conversation with Warith Muhammad, and he tells him about the immorality is the word that they used, immorality of Elijah Muhammad, right? And Malcolm X has a conversation with Elijah Muhammad about the immorality. And Elijah Muhammad he admits to it, according to Malcolm, as a quote, he admits to it, and he uses parables. He uses parables to justify the claims. Now, my question to you is, were those Elijah Muhammad's wives?
They absolutely were. In the history, as you gave it, is that it's not the history, nor is that what Malcolm said. So the conversation with Wallace happened during Savior's Day, February 1963.
Yeah.
But Malcolm had known about the wives before then. There was a particular revelation that he encountered from Wallace in February 1963 that hurt his heart. Malcolm, according to his own words in his autobiography, knew about the wives, the language Malcolm used. We're going to show that. Knew about the wives since 1962. In February of 1963, during Savior's Day in Chicago, he had dinner with Wallace, and Wallace told him that of the wives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, two in particular, Sister Evelyn X. Williams and Sister Lucille. That hurt Malcolm to find that out, because Malcolm was previously engaged to Sister Evelyn, but a week later he broke off that engagement. That hurt Malcolm. Malcolm left, hurt, but then he went back. Him and Wallace, according to Malcolm X's own confession, he went back and had another conversation with Malcolm, and they didn't speak to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad yet. That was April. Malcolm said that he and Wallace went through the scriptures on their own and found the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's domestic life in the scriptures. This is Wallace and Malcolm. In April, Malcolm flies to Phoenix to see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You just then, as was done in Spike Lee's movie, X, totally do violence to that April meeting. It is absolutely not the case that Malcolm confronted the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tried to justify it with scripture. The exact happened. Let me read to you what Malcolm said. Said, quote,
what are you reading from? No, I know where you're reading from.
Malcolm X.
No, I'm saying where.
This is page 140. I'm sorry, page 305. Page 305 of the autobiography of Malcolm X. Elijah Muhammad, listen to his words. This is how it went down. After Wallace and Malcolm go through the scripture and find the scriptural basis of their father's domestic life. Malcolm says this, quote, Elijah Muhammad had me fly to Phoenix to see him in April 1963. We embraced, as always, and almost immediately he took me outside, where we began to walk by his swimming pool. He was the messenger of Allah. When I was foul, vicious convict, that other convicts had called me Satan, this man had rescued me. He was the man who had trained me, who had treated me as if I were his own flesh and blood. He was the man who had given me wings to go places, to do things I otherwise never would have dreamed of. We walked, and with me caught up in a whirlwind of emotions. Well, son, Mr. Muhammad said, what's on your mind? Malcolm says, plainly, frankly, pulling no punches, I told Mr. Muhammad what was being said. And without waiting for any response from him, without waiting for any response from him, I said that with his son Wallace help, I found in the Quran and the Bible that which might be taught to Muslims as the fulfillment of prophecy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to him, son, I'm not surprised. You always had a good understanding of prophecy. See, the wicked deceivers flip it. It was Malcolm who told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad what he was hearing, and at no point did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad try to justify it. Malcolm didn't even allow his teacher to respond. He let him know that he and Wallace found the scriptural support for his domestic life, that his domestic life is a matter of a fulfillment of prophecy. So everyone who makes the Honorable Elijah Muhammad trying to justify to Malcolm, they are doing violence to Malcolm's own account of what happened.
So are they wedding certificates, wedding marriage licenses, and if Clara Muhammad was it 1919 they got married? I'm just asking questions, and
no, they're awesome questions. So
and part two to that is why did he suspend them? Why did he suspend the women? One, and why was it not public for him to be in the presence of them during Savior's Day, i.e. when he's traveling, having speaking engagements?
Excellent questions. Mm-hmm. Again, they were wives, as Malcolm knew and always stated, until he left the court June 14 and 15 of 1964. Let's hear first from the women. As Sister Lucille said, quote, he told us we were his wives.
What year was that though? Because that changed.
No, this is in 1960. This is 1964. 1965. This was after Malcolm had convinced her and Sister Evelyn to file paternity suits against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm convinced them. Malcolm secured Attorney Root. And at that time, Lucille's words were, quote, he told us we were his wives. Let's quote Malcolm's words. Then we're going to get to wives. In the courtroom, this is the transcript of the Queen's Court hearing for the house that Malcolm was residing in and that the Nation of Islam was reclaiming. He was represented that day by his attorney, Percy Sutton. This is a transcript of his words, a partial transcript. Look at what Malcolm says in court. Quote,
tell them the date so people know, because you're big on details.
Yes, June 14th, 1964.
And this is over the home, right?
He's over the home.
Right? In Queens, right?
In Queens.
Okay.
Malcolm says in court on that day, quote, I said I would have kept the whole thing secret and private if they would have given me a hearing. They would rather take the public court than keep it private among the Muslims, simply because I told Joseph that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taken on 9 wives. Simply because I told Joseph that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taken on 9 wives. But let's not stop there. This is the New York Post. It is February 23rd, 1965. They too quote Malcolm as saying, quote, I told members of my mosque that Elijah was living with 9 wives and 6 children by those wives. But I've since found out it was 7 wives. So in those 3 sentences, he identifies them as wives 3 times. Malcolm always used the language wives because he understood them for what they were. It was after Malcolm in court identified these sisters accurately as his wives, as they identified themselves then as his wives, Malcolm came out of court and before the cameras twist the narrative and uses the language teenage secretaries. He didn't say that in court. He said it trying to win in the court of public opinion, but in the actual court, he still stuck to the truth.
So why was it private? Why was it a secret? Yeah. And why did he suspend them if they were his wives? Why did he was very aggressive as it pertains to being a father to those kids, and aggressive like with his dialogue, with his energies, as it pertains to the women and them asking for money? I actually have interviews, and I'm going to clip you, and I have interviews with people that was around him at that time, and I'm going to clip you, and I'll definitely tag you at that point. But the point I want to make is, why was it a secret if those were his wives? Why did he suspend them? Why did he not acknowledge the kids before his vast Nation of Islam?
That was his private life. The Nation of Islam at that time, he kept his wives hidden for the same reason he kept the photo of Master Fard Muhammad hidden. Today, you see Muslims holding up the portrait of our Savior, Master Fard Muhammad, freely. And so you might think that that picture was always public in the Nation of Islam. It was not. The picture of our founder was a secret. And when the Los Angeles Herald Examiner, trying to cause mischief, put that portrait out there with a false narrative, that was when Muslims for the first time saw the portrait. It was because the Muslims at the time only recently being a so-called Negro in America, psychologically wasn't prepared to understand that portrait of the Savior. The same with the domestic life of the messenger of God. Most of the nation of Islam, most of us Muslims, men in particular, only a few days up from being a Negro, a bona fide Negro, shaped and molded into the ways and thinking of the American white man, we were not able to appreciate his domestic life in the divine context that we needed to have. So he did keep it a secret. Now, are you married, brother?
Sure.
So you know, marriage is a very tumultuous process. The process of a man loving a woman and a woman loving a man. There's a whole bunch of toxic moments in any relationship. So to point out the ups and downs, the tumultuous moments in his relationship with his wives is unfair. I have tumultuous moments. I'm sure you have with yours. I would not want anyone querying me about why me and my wife are having a moment. Now, those same wives who had moments with their husband, we got them on record at that time and till today. They give a clear accounting of their relationship with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they give a clear accounting of what happened with Malcolm. If we are going to focus so much on them, then let them speak. Let's respect their perspective, and their perspective was that they were his wives, and they said in their statement, yeah, all husbands and wives have tumultuous moments. Can't ask a man why you having a tumultuous moment with your wife. That's par for the course.
So the extension of that question is, why is his 8 kids with Clara Muhammad public and the 13 he had outside private?
You mean why were they? For the exact same reason I just told you why the wives were private. If the wives are private, certainly the children will be private.
Private. Okay. And you, so Clara Muhammad has a wedding license, but the other wives do not.
Because Clara Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad got married when they were Christians. They had an American marriage. But then after they met with God, and God made the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad his messenger, at that point, the criterion by which to judge his behavior, the behavior of the messenger of God, is not the American judicial system. It's what does scripture say? And so this is why Malcolm didn't have any problem going throughout the East Africa and the Middle East, embracing all of these Muslims and Africans who had multiple wives and concubines, none of which had an American court-issued license. But he embraced them, he loved them, and offered no criticism because they had wives.
Did Clara Muhammad embrace all those wives?
Sister Clara was hurt, as a woman would. This is why, dear brother, no male member of the Nation of Islam is permitted to engage in polygyny, the practice of taking more than one wife. None of us are. That is the burden reserved. I said burden, I didn't say privilege. Multiple wives is the burden reserved for the messenger of God, because we are dirty. We got too much nigger in us, too close to our surface. And so we will engage in that. We will engage in it in a way that does profound damage to the women. That is a hurtful state of affairs, mostly for the woman. So Sister Clara was deeply hurt. She loved her husband and she never left him, but she was hurt. She did not like it, but you will be hard pressed to find a woman that would like it. The wives of Prophet Muhammad did not like that they weren't the only one. No woman likes that. So yes, Mother Clara was hurt, understandably so. May Allah be pleased with her.
So, but by her being you called her Mother Clara Muhammad, am I correct?
That is correct.
Is her happiness, how much does Elijah Muhammad value her happiness in terms of being the mother of the Nation of Islam? If she doesn't approve of the 13 other kids and the 8 other wives, why is she invalidated?
She isn't invalidated. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad absolutely cared and was hurt by her hurt. But Mother Clara didn't make her husband the messenger of God. God did. So he was following the dictates of his God. He is the fulfillment of the Quran's Muhammad and the Bible's Jesus. He didn't want to do it. So regardless of the fact that he knew at some point it was not going to stay private and he was going to have to endure the pain of its revelation, he did not, I suspect that it will come the way it did come. But he cared about his wife's pain, but he had to do what the messenger of God was instructed to do. Not just in that matter, in all matters. Mother Clara did not make him the messenger of God. God made him the messenger of God.
So why would you use the word pain? And part two to that is, was Malcolm X right or wrong as it pertains to the women? If Clara Muhammad isn't happy and there's pain, was Malcolm X right or wrong?
Malcolm X
and what he said about the secretaries and two,
very wrong.
He was very wrong for what?
He was maliciously wrong.
No. Was he wrong? If it's the truth, how was he wrong?
No. One, he was wrong because in a court of law, he properly identifies them as what they were. Wives taken by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he came out to court, he deliberately misrepresented them as teenage secretaries, and none of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's wives were teenagers. An important book, Brother Student Minister Demetric Muhammad. He
was on. Nice.
And y'all kill Malcolm. You should read his book.
Nice man.
He details the ages, none of those wives were teenagers.
I'm not dating ages. I'm not dating. I never said teenage. I never said teenage because
you asked me, was he wrong? And I'm saying he was maliciously wrong when he spoke the truth in the courtroom. He properly identified those sisters in the courtroom and then came out of the court and engaged a court of public opinion with a deliberate misrepresentation of those women and their relationship to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, he was wrong.
So why didn't Elijah Muhammad acknowledge his kids? Why did they need a paternity test?
No, they didn't. Malcolm, the sisters were pregnant and having a moment with their husband. And Malcolm intervened in that. Malcolm is the one who secured the attorney for him. Malcolm is the one, and you know why he insisted that they file paternity suit? It was not their idea, it never was. Malcolm, when he got bitter over being evicted from his house, Malcolm tried to use his knowledge of the domestic life as a bludgeon against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He went to newspapers with the story, and none of them will print it for fear of libel. We have Malcolm, the transcript of Malcolm's calls complaining that none of the news outlets will run the story. They told him the only way they could run his story is if any of the sisters filed paternity suit. Malcolm took that, went to LA, and insisted that these sisters file a paternity suit. They initially resisted. He secured the attorney for them. He got them to file paternity suit. They say this. So it was not them who was filing paternity suit. It was Malcolm who was filing paternity suit because the papers, the news outlets told him that's the only way they could run his story.
Did they file the paternity suit?
No, it was never filed. Once Malcolm was killed and everybody was shook. And so Malcolm sent James 67X to LA and others to handle that detail, that scandalous detail. And when Malcolm was murdered, James 67X was the inside man for this assassination, now known as Abdul Razak. He was the inside man for this assassination. So when Malcolm got killed in a public execution, Malcolm's wasn't an assassination. Martin Luther King's was an assassination. Robert Kennedy's was an assassination. But John F. Kennedy and Malcolm X, those were public executions. And Assistant District Attorney Dermody, Vincent Dermody, he said from that courtroom in New York that the public execution of Malcolm X was an object lesson to his followers. Now, Assistant District Attorney Dermody worked with the FBI to railroad the Nation of Islam. He was an inside man. So when he says the public execution, the brazen, he uses the language brazen, the brazen public execution of Malcolm X was an object lesson to his followers. An object lesson is a lesson, an abstract principle taught by a visual, physical example. his followers, his people, got the lesson. It was his people who were the primary organizers on the ground of the assassination. Malcolm's people over at OAAU and MMI, not over in Newark. It was Malcolm's people who were the primary organizers of the hit. So when it went down, the whole attorney route and paternity, that was on nobody's mind. So it just died.
Okay. Now, Wallace Muhammad, can you elaborate on the conversation you had with his mother about his dissatisfaction with the disrespect of Clara Muhammad and the disrespect of his kids from his first marriage? That the conversation, I know you saw the conversation with he and Louis Farrakhan on the DS having the conversation, and why was he dissatisfied with his father and kicked out of the Nation of Islam or suspended? I don't know what words you guys use, but suspended from the Nation of Islam for having these conversations. Multiple times, 5-6 times, sure.
Right. But that wasn't why he was put out the Nation of Islam.
I mean, but it was for multiple reasons. But
right, and they're important. But
if we can answer just this, can we answer this part, and then you can elaborate and go as long as you want.
Yes.
Why was Clara Muhammad hurt and Wallace Muhammad hurt? Because Elijah Muhammad had all these wives and kids.
Well, we answered your first question. Why Mother Clara was hurt?
I know that, but now I'm adding to it. Yes.
A implies B. So that answer implies the answer to your follow-up question. All of the children of Mother Clara saw her in her hurt. They loved their mother. And just as Mother Clara couldn't get past her hurt over her husband's domestic life, her children could not get past the hurt it caused their mother. So we in the Nation of Islam, under the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, are not allowed to judge the children of Mother Clara. Their human pain is understandable. We can't put ourselves in their shoes. We understand why they would be hurt with their mother in that pain. So we accept that. It doesn't change the facts, but we don't judge them for their hurt. Now, Wallace, Imam Warthuddin Muhammad, he also had profound theological disagreements with his father. He got put out of the mosque on occasions because of theological difference. Imam Warthuddin Muhammad did not believe Allah came in a person of Master Fard Muhammad. So that theological battle played out, and it reverberated in many different quarters. But the children of Mother Clara, they're human. Okay. They experience human pain. And we don't judge them for that.
So would you say that Elijah Muhammad broke the vows of he and Clara Muhammad if she has pain?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
No. I don't know a man who has a wife
because private
caused her pain.
No, I'm not. See, that's a broad brush. We're just focused on Clara and Elijah.
What I'm saying is, allow that man. He's a husband with a wife, and so the normal husband-wife stuff applies.
So that's normal. So that's normal.
Absolutely, it's normal.
Okay. Would you? How many kids do you have, by the way? That's curiosity.
I have 5.
How many girls you have?
I have 4 girls.
Congratulations. You almost close. You actually was attempting to follow in the footsteps of Malcolm. But let me would you allow either of your 4 daughters to be 9, 10, 11, 12?
Say that again?
Would you allow either of your daughters to be 9, 10, 11, 12 of Elijah Muhammad's wives? Asking a question.
The honorable, that's an impossibility. Would I allow my daughters?
Because I'm trying to understand
Elijah Muhammad's wives. Are you asking?
Yes, I'm asking.
Question: would I allow my daughters
yes
to engage in a polygynous relationship?
Because he's doing God's work. That's why I'm asking. Would you allow your 4 daughters to be wife?
You're saying that if I were back in 1965, would I allow? Because there's an illogic. Let's just keep it. So 2 questions you can ask me. Would I allow, Brother Wesley? Would you allow your daughters to be a sister wife? Is that what you want to know? Would I allow my daughter to be a sister wife? I would say no, because me as a man, I can't take sister wives. So I would not want my daughter to be a sister wife.
So that goes against your. So that goes against your.
The policy of the Nation of Islam. It is forbidden for men to take wives, and it is forbidden for women to be sister wives in the Nation of Islam. It was then, it is now.
So you wouldn't allow it. You said a whole lot, but you wouldn't allow it. But if Elijah Muhammad is doing the will of God, you should have no objection to that.
Well, no. If would I be happy if my daughter was a wife of the Christ? Absolutely, I would.
You said daughter.
Daughter, yeah, we're talking about my daughter.
Yeah, okay.
Would I allow or approve of my daughter being the sister wife of some brother FOI? No. Would I be happy if the Christ selected my progeny to build the new world through? I would be ecstatic, dear brother.
So you wouldn't object. I'm trying to get clarification because you just flip-flopped in your answer. So what I'm
no, there's 2 levels of answer. And FOI, I keep saying that there's a difference. I don't know why you're not recognizing.
Oh, I'm not.
We're drawn between the messenger of God,
yes,
and Brother Wesley. Brother Wesley can't take no sister wives.
So you could not you. I said so you could handle. You would give your daughter away to Elijah Muhammad, being child number 22, wife number 9, and staying in private.
Oh, absolutely. If I were in that day.
Okay.
So you want to retroject me and my daughters back in 1965.
And I only asked you that for your ideology, not out of disrespect for your daughters. I'm just
no.
I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to the people in the audience because I don't want.
And it's important that you don't miss the nuanced point that I keep trying to give to you. We are talking the messenger of God's domestic life. It's not the template for FOI's domestic life. And so, no, I would not allow my daughter to be a sister wife to any brother. But if the messenger of God selected my daughter as a divine wife, a mother of the faithful, yes, I would be ecstatic. And I would understand, dear brother, that there's a lot that goes with that. that very difficult and burdensome situation, because it's a divine situation, those circumstances are above my intellectual and spiritual pay grade.
That's real fancy. Okay, now let's digress to Malcolm and Islam. You said in Islam you can have more than one wife. It allows you to have more than one wife because this is not this ideology in this country, right? I'm paraphrasing what you're saying for understanding my understanding. I'm regurgitating my understanding. So if you don't agree with a normal Nation of Islam member having more than one wife, which is allowed by the Quran, according to what you just said 35 minutes ago. I have it in my notes.
Mm-hmm. I say it right now.
Oh, I know. Why would you forbid your daughters in 2021 to do it if the Quran, in which you follow every day of your life, allows it?
Yeah. The Quran allows, under certain circumstances, the taking of 4 wives. We in the Nation of Islam in the West, we do strive to follow the Holy Quran every day of our life, but we don't stop there. This is the son of Islam that's rising in the West, rather than the son of Islam that has historically rose in the East. So while the Quran permits it, the Nation of Islam in the West forbids it for the male members at this time. It's circumstantial. That same Quran also allows concubines. It allows concubinage. What the right hand possesses, concubine, a female slave taken in war. But we in the Nation of Islam are not going to engage in the practice of concubinage. So everything that's permitted in the Quran isn't prescribed for us here in the West, because we're talking about the so-called Negro who was born in the sin and shaped in the iniquity of American white supremacy.
So the religion of Islam is regional.
Oh, in its manifestation, it's very regional. It's profoundly regional in its manifestation.
God is regional. That's interesting.
No, you didn't talk about God. You said Islam. And
I'm saying, but Allah is God. So I'm saying,
well, but God ain't Islam in its local manifestations. Indonesian Islam is not the same as Nigerian Islam. Yemeni Islam is not the same as South African in its manifestation. So the manifestation of Islam, the articulation of Sharia, Islamic law, is profoundly regional across the world. In fact, one of the reasons there's such stark contrast between the application of Sharia in various countries is because that which is called Sharia or divine law in each of these countries didn't come from heaven. It came from the local culture. The local culture was subsumed by the religion and presented as the religion, when in fact it was local culture. That's the real state of Islam in the world today.
So basically you go, I mean, because you contradicted what you said the first half of the interview when you say that. I'm talking about not that answer, but the previous answer. So when when you play it back, you'll definitely see it. So when the portion of Islam fits your lifestyle, that's when you put the shoe on.
No, we're very clear. We don't say 4 wives is acceptable today, and then by some whim, even though the circumstances haven't changed, they susceptible now. We have been consistent in our way of life for 90 years now, because our way of life is prescribed by the God that came from the east to the west. We do not follow the Muslim world. This is why, dear brother, while the Muslim world in their star and crescent, their crescent is in the last quarter. It's going out. Ours is distinctly different. Our crescent on our lapel is in the first quarter. It's the new moon. We are the new Islam. We are not day by day Islam. For the last 90 years, we've been the new Islam. We are establishing the new Islam here in the West, because the old Islam in the East has gotten, over the last 1400 years, so profoundly corrupted and usurped by white supremacy in Islam. It is not the medicine that it once was. The Islam of the world today is not medicinal. The Islam of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that has been consistent for 90 years, is medicinal. So we stick with this. And if the Muslim world would wise up, it would follow the lead of the new son of Islam that has risen in the West.
Is a Nation of Islam believe in separation?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Is it an all-black organization?
Absolutely.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking because
the Nation of Islam is an all-black. In terms of, are there whites? No, there are no white members of the Nation of Islam.
Are whites allowed to be a part of the Nation of Islam?
No, sir, they are not.
Okay, I'm just curious, because I heard Farrakhan say that whites will be a part of the nation.
And in the future, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that in the hereafter, here after the destruction of the white man's world, there are a few whites who will make it into the hereafter.
Yeah.
But that's not here now, that's hereafter.
Okay. Now, the reason why I asked, because not about that, but we're progressing from the wives. So obviously there's dissension in the Chicago home, right? And as it pertains to
the whole conversation won't be about.
No, because we're progressing to the reason why I believe, one of the reasons why Malcolm X was assassinated. That's why I'm trying to walk through this story.
Okay.
He suspends him. Now we're leading into the comments about JFK. He suspends him for saying the chickens have come home to roost. Everyone has seen it.
No.
And he suspends them for 90 days, correct?
He suspends them for disobedience.
Disobedience, right? And because he made a comment, he told weeks prior not to make a comment about the assassination of.
Not weeks prior, the day of.
The day of. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about
3 times. He was.
Yeah.
Malcolm received 3 instructions, as every minister was instructed to say nothing concerning the assassination of Malcolm X. I'm sorry, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. 2 directives were sent out through the secretary's office around the nation. And then Malcolm was given a 3rd specific reminder by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad before he went to deliver his speech at the Manhattan Center in New York. So that's why he was silenced, not because he made a truthful statement. And as Malcolm said in his conversation with Peter Goldman, Malcolm said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that he spoke the truth, but he disobeyed. And Malcolm's words were this, quote, "I should have kept my big mouth shut," end quote.
Now, why wasn't he reinstated after? Why didn't they get reconnected after 90 days or get reinstated, which was
continued disobedience.
Okay.
Understand what so you have to know something about the workings of the Nation of Islam. And most people who comment have no clue about our workings. That's why they miss the mark so much. When Malcolm was suspended on December 4th, he was put in what's called he was given what's called C time. Now, what that means is if you are a holder of a post in the Nation of Islam, in his case, he was a minister. That means you could still come to the mosque. You are not isolated from the community, but you can engage in none of the activities of your post. He could not speak from his rostrum in New York or any other rostrum. He could not give any public statements or interviews. Those were the conditions of his seat time. That was to last 90 days. Malcolm, on multiple occasions, and we have the dates and the statements, spoke to the press. Do you remember we just watched that show One Night in Miami? Our memory should be jogged. We see the news clip of Malcolm with Muhammad Ali in Miami. And the reporters are asking Muhammad Ali questions, and then they turn to Malcolm and said, well, are you teaching him? You remember that clip? They say, are you teaching him, Malcolm? And Malcolm says, no, I'm not teaching him Islam. I know. So we all know that clip. Well, Malcolm was being disobedient. That was in February. Malcolm was not supposed to be speaking to the press, but Malcolm continued speaking to the press. And so he continued being disobedient. So now, in that whole time, Malcolm, while continuously being disobedient to the terms of the seat time, he was also continuously sending letters to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad begging for reinstatement. Now, a very important meeting and hearing occurred January 2nd and January 6th.
In 1964.
1964. While he's on seat time. Because of the continued disobedience, Malcolm had a hearing with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Supreme Captain Raymond Sharif, and the National Secretary John Ali at the time. That's how hearings happen with laborers. This myth that Malcolm should have had a hearing among the body, that's not how the Nation of Islam works. You march out publicly once the hearing has taken place with the four laborers. But in any case, Malcolm, in that meeting, he apologized. He confessed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we have the transcript of the meeting in the FBI files on Malcolm X.
So you're going to use the FBI files?
Well,
because if you're going to use the FBI files, we're going to make a sharp left. I'm just saying,
everybody.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind. Because
not a single book that doesn't. Oh,
if you use FBI files, then we can quote Elijah Muhammad about Moses. I mean, because
I absolutely use them. I'm not afraid of the files.
I don't want you to be afraid of them. I'm saying if you're going to use that conversation
judiciously.
No, I'm saying no. I'm just saying
yes.
If you're going to use
that, they're very important. They're very important. The FBI files.
Okay, that's fine.
There's no reason to not avail ourselves to them. We aren't slaves to them. Okay. But we avail ourselves to them. But what's important is Malcolm.
Because I'm going to tell you this. If you use the FBI files for a conversation, then you got to use the FBI files all the way up to February 21st, 1965.
And we absolutely should. I have the FBI.
What in case closed then?
I don't know.
Case closed.
I don't know what FBI file you're reading.
I mean,
I don't understand. I never.
What I'm saying is,
presented myself as a don't use the FBI file.
No, because the reason why I say that and I stayed away from it in this conversation is because no one can say that's what they said exactly. You understand? Now, time and location. No, can I finish?
No, I'm disagreeing with you.
No, time and location. Time and location. I think the FBI files are pretty damn good. Like in terms of Elijah Muhammad was here, Malcolm X was there, whoever else was there. He traveled to Phoenix on TWA. That's fine. But in terms of the dialogue, I mean, if you want to use the dialogue, then I mean, you might as well just say, I mean, it's done. If you're going to use it for that conversation in January, which I know the conversation, then we got to use it. Then we got to use it when Elijah Muhammad said he must be silenced. When Elijah Muhammad said treat him like Moses. Treat like Moses treated them. So at the end of the day, Elijah Muhammad, according to you, because we're going to use that conversation, Elijah Muhammad is accountable for one, creating the energy and not allowing the people to say, do not lay a hand on Malcolm, because he said his eyes must be closed. He must be silent. So at the end of the day, I appreciate it. And I wanted to stay away from those files. But since you want to use the files for that conversation, then I can
stay away from the files. Then let me give you my assessment of the FBI files. Thank you for giving me yours.
Just the same one. We got the same files. It ain't
no, giving me your assessment.
Oh, assessment. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me your assessment of the FBI files on Malcolm X. Allow me to give you mine. My assessment on the FBI files, the CIA files, and the Boss files. All of them are very important. We should avail ourselves to them. We should read them meticulously, all of them. So
I never brought up the files. You brought up the files.
I did, and I'm going to continue with the files because my assessment is the files have great value. But how I use the files.
When it benefits you, though. But when it doesn't benefit you, you're not going to. That's what I'm saying.
You never heard that from me.
No, but what I'm saying, if I use
narrative.
No. Hear me out.
Narrative. You never heard me say.
No. I'm not. I didn't accuse you of that. But what I'm saying is,
said you.
No, listen.
You never heard me say this and not that. Never.
No. I just want to say this, and feel free to look for what you're looking for. As you're looking for that, I'll say this. When the storyline benefits you, you're going to use it as a 100% absolute.
You're making a presumption that you never heard from me.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. Let me finish, and then you can assess my. I
thought you was finished.
I talk in complete thoughts. I told him yesterday. I speak in complete thoughts, not complete sentences. I think it's more important. So if you use the FBI files in terms of dialogue. In terms of dialogue, what Elijah Muhammad said that day, because I can pull up the files and I know exactly where that's at. That's in probably chapter number 13 or 14, somewhere in there, one Elijah Muhammad's file, number 9 or 10 in Malcolm X file, maybe 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. I know it's somewhere in there. But what I'm saying is this. If you use that dialogue to substantiate your point as a fact, the FBI files, then I have the right to substantiate the FBI files as a fact to substantiate my truth. So when did and when didn't the FBI files dialogue not be true? That's a slippery slope you're going in.
May I respond?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
That's your slippery slope.
No, I don't have
my slippery slope.
Because I want to use the FBI files.
Brother, listen to me.
We can rock out on FBI files, but
well, let's rock out. Again, that's your slippery slope. You never got any indication from me that the FBI files are dangerous territory. You never got any indication from me that I'm picking and choosing from the FBI files. We have to be judicious in our use. So I was trying to tell you how I use the FBI files.
I'm not saying, but
so
you
finish, brother. I'm trying to give you you gave me your assessment. It's a slippery slope.
I'm with it.
Not so much a slippery slope for me.
I'm with it.
For me, what I use is very easily cross-referenced. And so there's 2 or 3 footnotes that I invoke. The statements cited of the closing of the eyes of the Moses dealing with the Israelites, you never heard me invoke them to say they were never said. I never impugned a dialogue that's recorded in the FBI files. That's your slippery slope, not mine. No, you just understand what I'm reading. So when I read the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I understand the context of the statements. And I put everything that I get from the FBI file, I put it in conversation with other sources that corroborate and give context. So the FBI file is not the source of the information of that January 6th hearing. I started there because there's a transcript and it agrees with other accounts. That's the point. So the FBI file, the CIA file, which we should read. The boss files, to the extent that they have been made available, we should avail ourselves to every document and closely read them. And we will learn much about the FBI and their way. We will learn more about the FBI.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm
glad you said that.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, so yeah, you have some presumptions about me that don't apply to me.
No, it's not about presumptions. I'm not making presumptions about you. I'm saying
when you thought that I
would
qualify one dialogue and disqualify another, that's not me.
No, you're making stuff up right now. I'm just saying I stayed away from using the FBI files, the CIA files, the boss files in terms of conversation. Me personally, you can, because I can.
I didn't ask you to do that. I gave you no indication.
No, I'm not saying
stay away from that.
No, I said me personally, because who on God's green earth can say that this little white man that has no respect for black men can say, oh, he's going to report what J. Edgar Hoover probably wants to hear.
That's why I said I cross-reference the FBI. That's my point.
So cross-reference.
That's why I said I give 3 and 4 footnotes. You put one source in conversation with other sources. If you read any of my books, dear brother, you see my footnote apparatus. And with every point I make, there's 3 and 4 footnotes to support it, because I put one source in conversation with other sources. That's how scholarship is done. Now, Malcolm, during the 90 days, because we're talking about his suspension.
Now, feel free to cross-reference too.
No, I absolutely am.
And state your quote, because
so
I don't have the time, since I'm doing an interview. All my stuff is in the living room, and I don't have time to source it out.
Let's understand the suspension. You
were on January 4th and January 2nd, that conversation.
Well, we're gonna back up, because you want sources.
No, just on that conversation. No, you.
So let me finish, brother. On, I don't know what.
I have the right to laugh. I have the right to laugh. Go ahead. I'm good.
We're talking about the suspension. You asked me about the suspension.
No, I'm telling you where you stopped at. You stopped at the FBI files
I stopped that.
Had the conversation, and you were going to quote the conversation. That's where you're at. But
I was going to quote a part of the conversation, and I'm cross-referencing it. The point I was going to make.
Okay.
In the transcript, cross-referencing. In the transcript of that conversation, Malcolm X says he confessed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he made a mistake, that he was wrong to not come to him when he first heard the rumors of his domestic life. Malcolm, on that transcript, which I'm going to cross-reference, said, I made a mistake. Please forgive me. The cross-reference. Malcolm kept notebooks that he wrote his thoughts on. And in last 2 weeks of January, in his notebooks, Malcolm says these words that parallel what is recorded of him in the FBI transcript of that conversation. Malcolm says to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in his notebook, quote, I made a serious mistake by not coming straight to you. And that mistake led to my making others. I am sincerely sorry and pray to Allah for forgiveness. And I ask you to pray to Allah for my forgiveness. That is in the latter 2 weeks of January in the notebook of Malcolm X, his admitting his mistake and the other mistakes that led to, and is pleading for forgiveness. I also have, let's read this. Other sources, cross-referencing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said I do 3 and 4 footnotes. And you want to see.
No, I don't know. I don't want.
Let me give another footnote.
I'm actually helping you out because
let me give another footnote. Let me give another footnote. During the suspension, Malcolm is pleading to be reinstated. Malcolm X never wanted to be out of the Nation of Islam. Never. And during his suspension,
this is January 1964. So
right. Okay. No, but I'm gonna go to January, February, March, and beyond. But we're in January. But now we're in February, because what I read then was his words that he wrote in his notebook at the end of January, and in February he penned a letter to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he recorded that letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we know it because Gil Nobles on his show, Like It Is, played the recording of the letter. This is what Malcolm said in February 64 during his suspension. The February 23 dinner with Wallace, where he found out details of the domestic life, that already happened.
So you're not quoting the conversation in January no longer. You're quoting the conversation in February.
Now I'm in February, yes, sir.
But you never cross-referenced in January.
What? Yes. So let me read Malcolm. January, February, March.
April,
Let
May.
me read Malcolm's letter to his teacher.
Go ahead. I'm listening to you. I'm trying to find something as
Listen to the words of Malcolm X during his suspension. We quoted January, end of January. The point I'm making is the same words that I lifted from the transcript. I'm cross-referencing those words because he says the same thing in his letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in February. Listen to what he said. He said, "Dear Holy Apostle, one of the main reasons people want to divide you and me is because they know that Allah has blessed me to be your best representative as well as your best defender. The only ones here who might think I'm against you are those who are not with you themselves. This is a dangerous position to be in because it only adds division upon division. I know now how Isaac felt when Abraham took him upon the mountain to sacrifice him. Only love for his father made him submit to what looked like certain death. Abraham's faith in Allah was being tested, but Isaac's faith and obedience to Abraham was an integral part of the overall test. I know now how Job felt when everyone was looking at him, wondering what sin he committed. His worst pain must have come from his inability to open his mouth and explain the real reason for his condition. As I've told you, I have been working on these notes I've taken during conversations with you during the past 10 years. Whenever I feel lonely, forsaken, or even angry, I'll go back to the words of wisdom and healing in these notes. There is both hope and life in your words. With Allah's help and your permission, I can turn out a book about your life, your teachings, and your work, and the progress that would bring tears to your eyes, and would not only go a long way in waking up the dead nation, but will also add to the financial needs of the nation. I'll do it just like I was working for you and would actually ask nothing in return. I've received my pay from you already 1,000,000-fold. If you would have mercy on me and give me another chance, I'll stay out of the public. I'd be satisfied with just ministering in the mosque, making no public statements or outside speeches. Cassius Clay has offered me and my family a free expense trip to Miami, Florida. I've taken my family nowhere during the entire 6 years that we've been married. My wedding anniversary is January 19th. So this is January, or was January 19th. And I'm contemplating acceptance of this offer, which is a blessing, a honeymoon. Since I know what my status is, I would not go near the mosque there, nor the Muslims, because the status changed as a consequence of the January meeting. Changed from C time to F time. Which means he's isolated now. He can't come among the Muslims. Since I know what my status is, I will not go near the mosque there, nor the Muslims. May Allah bless you with strength during these dark hours, which I know are also a trial to you. All praise is due to Allah.
Yeah, but that's early February. But
yes,
I really want to talk about that January conversation, because something happened in that January conversation, right? If you're going to use that, if you're going to cross-reference and speak upon that, about how he intentionally did not want to, he changed the subject, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Malcolm.
What were you talking about?
In January, Malcolm X intentionally changed the subject about his private life, his immorality, if I'm not mistaken, in that January conversation.
Immorality never came up in that conversation.
It never came up because Malcolm intentionally changed the subject.
No, No,
That's
not
what
at
it
all.
said in the FB. That's what
No,
it said. If I'm not
no,
mistaken.
no, that's absolutely not what it says.
I wish
Should I
that.
read? Should I read the transcript? I can read it all.
No, you don't have to read.
Okay, because
Just summarize it.
immorality never came up. Never.
No, but he
Came up.
said, okay, but he said the conversation never came up.
No, they absolutely.
telling you.
No, you don't have to tell me. I can read it.
No.
They did discuss Malcolm's.
And Malcolm changed the subject. If I'm not mistaken, did Malcolm?
No, you're not correct.
Okay, I could be wrong.
You're not correct.
Go ahead.
So Elijah mentioned the president's assassination. So this is
what date is that? What date did you look reading that?
This is January 2nd.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I want them to know because I want them to do their own research too. So go ahead.
And so let's help them out. The transcript, among other places, I have the actual document itself. If you don't want to go through the whole file, you have one transcript in Claiborne's Malcolm X, the FBI file. And in these 2 pages, I'm not going to read the whole 2 pages. You say he changed the subject. No, let's see what he says. Elijah mentions the president's assassination and Malcolm's New York speech. He said he feels Allah when everything is right and he knows this is good. He talked about Moses, Jesus, and so forth. He mentioned about after he put Malcolm down from public speaking, how the devils had called hinting there was a split between Elijah and Malcolm. And Elijah told them there was not. Elijah told how he helped Malcolm in his statements to the press. And when Malcolm first started speaking in Harlem, he said he had been hearing about Malcolm this and Malcolm that, and even Malcolm being called leader. Elijah said, now this one and that one is getting jealous. He told Malcolm that Malcolm was Elijah's property, to which Malcolm agreed. He told Malcolm he had made an error. Malcolm stated he had asked permission in a letter before he said anything, and he understood it was all right. Elijah said he could not understand why Malcolm took this poison and poured it out and told them it was poison. He told Malcolm that one cannot use fire to fight fire. He said all of the time Malcolm had been referring to something else, and Elijah thought he had a sly scheme or shrewd plan, but not this time. Elijah stated, we can't organize the man. He said if anyone had told him that Malcolm was going to use things like that, he would have not believed it. He told Malcolm if he loved Allah, then he must love Elijah as the messenger of Allah. Malcolm stated he would rather be dead than to say anything against Elijah. Malcolm said he didn't say anything to anyone about Elijah and had been using parables to speak. Elijah asked Malcolm how he could have gotten the wrong impression from what Malcolm had said. Elijah stated they all wrote to him and said the same thing. He told Malcolm he could not walk through the woods with fire in his hands and not start a fire. He said one must carry a bucket of water and not fire. Elijah stated he had to speak out on Kennedy's death as the whole nation would have been against them. Malcolm agreed. Elijah mentioned even some of the sympathetic devils were outraged at Malcolm's statement. Elijah asked Malcolm why Malcolm had been checking into his personal affairs. Bureau deletion stated Malcolm stated he had not asked anything about this, but had heard it in Chicago. Malcolm said he had talked to blank about it and he already knew it. Malcolm said he had noticed people in Chicago were very cold to Elijah's family in Chicago on Savior's Day. Malcolm said blank asked him to eat, Wallace asked him to eat with him that night and brought the matter up. Malcolm acted as if he knew nothing, and it goes on and on and on. 2 pages. Yeah. There is no changing subject.
No, he didn't change. Maybe I got my conversations because I don't have the notes in front of me, and you know exactly. You know what conversation I'm speaking of. I know you know what conversation I'm speaking of. So, but I know, yeah.
And this conversation is
but I know you know what conversation I'm speaking of.
Well, I know what conversation I'm speaking of.
I know. I just don't have the notes in front of me because
I'm not saying that
I didn't want to use that.
Isn't true about the conversation you're speaking of. I'm saying that this is the conversation I'm speaking of. And the whole time, Malcolm is doing 2 things. One, he's pleading to be reinstated.
This is while he's suspended, though. Like,
right.
Y'all
That's what we're talking about.
No, I know that, but y'all say he was begging up until his assassination. He was not.
Oh no, well, no, absolutely. Well, not begging. They were. He was in a process. Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were in a process of reconciling, and Malcolm was negotiating to return to the Nation of Islam, and that's the one reason he was murdered on February 21st, because we have testimony from an informant that the CIA had intended to kill him a little far later, but they moved the assassination up. We can prove that. Malcolm.
So while you're, because
Malcolm was negotiating with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Who are you quoting right now?
I'm about to give it to you. I'm about to give it to you.
I mean, it's just beautiful that you use the FBI files for your convenience in terms of dialogue.
Well,
because I'm
the false narrative and then you stick with it.
No, I'm not.
Me. You're trying to saddle me with a jacket that doesn't saddle me. You never heard me selectively choose and not choose the FBI files. That's not me, bro. That's a different conversation you had with someone else.
Okay, so John Ali is a national secretary there, right? And do you in your based off of your research, did people in the Nation of Islam want Malcolm X assassinated?
Not assassinated.
Murdered. Excuse me.
Very different.
No, I'm.
Did members of the Nation of Islam have death in their heart for Malcolm? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But I don't want to skip. I want to prove.
Okay. In June,
before we get to John Ali.
In June, did Elijah Muhammad Jr. say he wanted Malcolm X tongue?
What Elijah Muhammad Jr. said was, the nigga don't want to get up out the house. So what you do, go to the house, clap on the walls till they come down, take his tongue out and send it to me. I will stamp it approved. He did say that. And there's some context to that. No. As much as he said that, do you know what happened before he said that?
Go ahead, tell the people.
See,
but
so let me tell the people.
But if you're gonna reinterpret, just take it.
I'm not reinterpret. I'm giving you facts.
Okay, you're gonna put it in context.
I'm giving you incidents that are relevant that you don't know about. I don't know. You seem to be very.
I'm not. Why
you don't like facts being put on the table? So
I love facts.
Facts. Let me put this fact on the table.
I mean,
and then we'll get to Malcolm's negotiation for reentry back into the Nation of Islam.
Got a lot of facts today.
We do. The problem with this
Hayer was I'm gonna just while you looking for that, I'm gonna say Hayer was a follower.
Let me give you that incident.
Jeez.
Let me give you the incident. It's relevant. You asked me about Elijah Jr.'s statement.
Okay, go ahead. You ready? I was gonna say it while you're looking for it. I didn't know if you were ready.
Well,
you're ready? I'm ready.
No, they're two different things. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you know in June, before Elijah Muhammad Jr. made that statement, 6 of Malcolm's people went to Mosque number 7 with their weapons. There was a confrontation. The FOI came out. They had no weapons. The 6 guards of Malcolm aggressed the mosque with their weapons because they heard rumors. And the enemy was the author of the rumors. After that physical confrontation, they roll up on our mosque with weapons. And then the morning before, Elijah Muhammad Jr. addressed the FOI. A call came in. A man claiming to be Malcolm said Elijah Muhammad is dead. So now, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was scheduled to speak that day in Harlem. And so when the morning threat came and the FOI were on red alert at the FOI class, after 6 of Malcolm's people ran up on Temple number 7 with guns. So yes, it was a red alert situation. Now, what they also don't say, when after Elijah Jr. made that statement, Khalil Islam, Thomas 15X Johnson, who was falsely accused with the murder, did time, and he changed his name to Khalil Islam. He said after Elijah Jr. said that, Elijah Sr., his father, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, sent orders down to not touch Malcolm. See, y'all the ones that cherry pick. Y'all the ones who lift an incident in isolation and other incidents because the false narrative is dependent on such cherry picking. What we are given is the contextual facts that allow the discussion to be properly nuanced. Now, I want to return to Malcolm X's.
Can I interject?
Yes.
Do you mind? Thank you. As a standalone statement, Elijah Muhammad said we are a peaceful people, right? We are peaceful people, right? We don't carry weapons.
Those who fight with us.
Please. If this is real easy, man, but I understand how you go and attach things.
I don't know what that
I'm speaking.
Yes,
as it stands alone, whether you believe or I believe or she believe or we believe that this comment was attached to that comment was attached to that comment. If we are in the court of law and the judge says, Elijah Muhammad Jr., did you say you wanted Malcolm X's tongue? And the question is either yes or no. Elijah, by your own accounts, he said that. So what that means is that is an act of violence. Whether it was called, let me finish. Whether it was caused by 6 men going into the mosque, whether it was whatever it is that you have in your notes, the fact remains. And I understand that people are gonna be fascinated by your diction and your ability to recount facts. That is a beautiful thing. It's outstanding.
Facts matter.
I please. It's a beautiful thing. The facts are the facts. Now let me go back, because I know people are mesmerized by you in the chat and in this. I'm just going to review the facts as if I'm going to review the facts in yes or no statements. Was Hayer a follower of Elijah Muhammad? You said yes. Was Clara Muhammad hurt by the multiple wives? Yes. You didn't say secret, you used private. And you said Clara Muhammad's kids and family was public, and he has the right to keep them private, although Akbar and Wallace were very hurt, and he stepped away from his father's teachings multiple times, right? Now we fast forward to the violence part. The violence part is, did Elijah Muhammad Jr. want Malcolm X's tongue? The answer is yes. Now you can go on and state your facts and attach it to whatever you want, but that is and that is where we are at in this conversation. Now, as we fast forward, you're gonna add more facts, but that's where we're at in terms of this conversation. But it sounds like a beautiful.
Let me add another fact, if I may. You sound so anti-fact.
I'm about that. I'm about
that. Black facts matter. But let me take it a step further. It's not just that Elijah Jr. wanted Malcolm's tongue at that point. All of us wanted Malcolm's tongue. See, what you have to understand, and for example, an error that Zach Kondo continuously makes is distinguishing principle from policy. As a matter of principle, we all wanted Malcolm's tongue. As a matter of policy, we could not touch Malcolm's tongue or any other part of Malcolm, because Elijah Jr. said, you know what? We should clap on his house. Y'all send me his tongue and I stamp it. But the policy came down from his father. Leave Malcolm alone. So Elijah Jr. wasn't isolated in his desire for Malcolm's tongue at that point. We all, any of us could have mounted that rostrum on that day and given you much more juicy stuff to talk about on YouTube platforms in 2021. But the policy was, by the policy maker, leave Malcolm alone. So all we could do is vent verbally, because the Nation of Islam was under orders to leave Malcolm alone. And that's why Talmadge Hayer, who was not under our orders because he wasn't in a mosque. Brother Nuri was right. He wasn't in the mosque. He was in F-Time. He wasn't acting as a mosque member. Yes, he had the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in his heart, he said, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, but he wasn't motivated to commit the murder out of love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because if he loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he would have obeyed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
So he was a disobedient member of the Nation of Islam, and that's where and that's the,
who was not in the mosque.
I mean,
F-Time, he was put out of the mosque. Dear brother,
that doesn't make you, that doesn't, because
yes,
you sat down, it doesn't
make you a non-active.
Does it make you not a Nation of Islam member? I'm asking.
All 40 million black people are considered in the Nation of Islam. That means those who go to the church.
Oh gosh.
That means you. Why aren't you able to appreciate, or
I just asked a question.
Why aren't you able to appreciate the difference between being in the nation and being in the mosque?
Y'all are amazing, dog. Y'all are amazing. I just asked a question.
I'm asking you a question. Why can't you comprehend The difference between being in the nation and being in the mosque. He was put out of the mosque because he violated our law. So he was put out at the time he was out when he committed that crime.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm not disagreeing that. So what I'm asking you, if you are suspended, put out of the mosque, are you not a Nation of Islam member? Yes or no?
In a generic sense, in a general sense, yes. But in the specific sense
what's the
activity. No, listen. So if someone is put on F time, and while they are put out of the mosque, if they rob a bank, they are not robbing the bank as a member of the Nation of Islam. Their criminality there doesn't accrue to us. They are put out of the Nation of Islam. Muslims don't have contact with those in that time. That's the law. So the crimes that he committed, whether it's murdering Malcolm X, whether it's stealing weapons, the crimes that he commits while he's in F time are tantamount to the crimes that I would commit if I'm on F time. They don't reflect on the Nation of Islam. I'm put back into the world. And what I do is on my own. I'm isolated from the community, so I got to carry that weight on my own. So can we talk about Malcolm X's desire, his negotiation?
Yeah. We can go anywhere, but I just want to reiterate, because I understand people get lost in translation. You said yes, he was a member of the Nation of Islam.
Registered.
Wait. But you said
you keep saying what I'm saying. I want to say what I'm saying.
So
I understand.
Okay, I'm just going in order because I want the people, because you sound beautiful. You sound like you sound beautiful with your facts, and I'm not being condescending. People think I'm being condescending. I'm
sound like it, but it's
okay. I'll let you know when I'm being condescending. I'll let you know, and you don't feel it because it comes with a different level of energy. I just want the people to understand as we're moving forward with this conversation. You said yes, he is a member of the Nation of Islam, and you diluted that by saying everyone is a member of the Nation of Islam. I'm talking.
And I'm not. You.
Thank you. Claire Muhammad was married to Elijah Muhammad, and she had a level of pain. To what pain, we don't know. We do know Akbar and Wallace Muhammad did not agree with Elijah Muhammad's infidelities, and we're not gonna call it infidelity. I don't. His 8 other wives and 13 other kids that did not belong to Clara Muhammad. And you did say Elijah Muhammad Jr. wanted Malcolm X's tongue. So I just want everyone to understand that. Now we can carry.
But I also said we all wanted Malcolm X's tongue. I'm saying I'm just pigeonhole Elijah Muhammad Jr. I keep telling you, we all wanted Malcolm X's tongue.
Peaceful people.
But we could not go after his tongue because an order came down not to touch him. I don't. You are very intelligent. I don't understand why you keep tripping on that point. But
I don't. I'm not tripping on no points. I just want people to understand.
Tripping over that point. So okay, so you're not.
I'm not.
So let's shift gears. I want to get back to.
How much time do you have left?
Ooh. Let's give it to the half hour. Whoa.
You got 11 minutes.
Wow.
Got 11 minutes.
11 minutes. I would like to prove what I said. Malcolm X, during suspension, was pleading to be reinstated. He never wanted to be out of the Nation of Islam. And when he announced on March 8th, 1964, that he was remaining out of the Nation of Islam, he made it very clear that in his mind, he never left, that he was pushed out by a conspiracy of those that did not include the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In June, things got hot because of the House. It got very ugly. But then, right before his assassination, negotiations were entered into. This is the New York City Daily News.
And we're going to use the New York City Daily News.
We're going to use our source. So you got a problem with the New York? You got a problem with the New York Times and the Daily News and the Herald Tribune?
I don't have a problem.
Believe me,
with it.
I said three. I said
I don't have a problem with it.
I'm gonna give you, and I don't
have a problem with it.
So just understand, if I cite it, I ain't got a problem with it. Okay. That includes the FBI file.
Perfect. Let's go.
February 26, 1965.
That's 5 days after he was murdered.
Yeah. By William Fredericks, revealed Malcolm and Muhammad had peace talks. Listen to what it says, and then we're going to quote. After his break with the Black Muslim movement, Malcolm X conferred secretly several times with Elijah Muhammad, but he and the Prophet, leader of the Muslims, could not agree on terms of his return to the parent organization. The news was told last night. The Prophet would accept Malcolm back only in a humble position, and the young Negro extremist refused to disband his own following. Now, the following put details, and I'm going to show some more. Put details to the following was the element within OAAU specifically involving Maxwell Stanford and the RAM contingent, Revolutionary Action Movement, the gun-toting element, the Mau guerrilla warfare element of Malcolm's organization, a heavy staff with weapons, and the negotiation because we don't carry weapons. Malcolm was not at the time, after several meetings, but had he lived, I'm sure those details could have been worked out. Those negotiations could have been successful, but he was shot down. Now, excuse me, Charles Kenyatta, who, according to multiple persons, was the one Malcolm trusted the most. He said, quote, Malcolm loved Elijah better than his own sons loved him. Charles Kenyatta said, quote, he never wanted to move away. If Elijah had come up to him 5 minutes before he got shot, Malcolm would have gone back. Some of his friends are persuaded, Goldman recounts, are persuaded to this day that left to themselves, Malcolm and the messenger might have composed their differences. James 67X, and note that Charles Kenyatta and James 67X, they were feuding with each other. They were on opposite sides of the Malcolm X aisle, but they both make the same point that Malcolm X on February 21st, 1965, would have went back if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed up at that ballroom. Malcolm X would have dismounted that stage and went with his leader because they were in negotiation for reconciliation. But that reconciliation could not happen. He was cut down in part to make sure that it would not happen.
Okay. Can I respond? Can I respond? All right, guys. The New York Daily News, in terms of credibility as it pertains to Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, is probably one of the most divisive sources, and especially after Malcolm X was assassinated. It was like a jovial white media took a jovial position as it pertains to the assassination of Malcolm X. So in my opinion, which leans more towards right than wrong as it pertains to this, and you said this too in some of your videos as it pertains to New York media and after Malcolm X was assassinated. Now, the week of this is really easy, Wesley Muhammad. This is really easy that Malcolm X he didn't. He was February 14th, his house was bombed, Valentine's Day, right? February 14th, his house was bombed. And then he had to go to Detroit, and then he came back, right? And he said, basically, I'm a dead man walking. You know, he did an interview with another man. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I have it, who was beat up by the Nation of Islam in a Boston. Let me. I know you know the name, but
Leon
let me finish. They did an interview together, January 15th. It was that week. It was that Wednesday or Thursday of that week. He got beat up damn near for his life in a Boston hotel. Okay, in a Boston hotel, and they did an interview together that week. Now, when we get to that day of the Diaz, he was about to expose the people that made an attempt on his life, because that earlier the members of the Nation of Islam, and we have multiple sources, wanted to get a silencer. Muhammad Ali's secretary agreed with this, wanted to assassinate Malcolm X, and Malcolm X was going to expose it. That whole week from 14th to February 21st, no way on God's green earth did Malcolm X had a notion that he was going to get back for the Nation of Islam. He knew he was walking towards his death that week. They had got as close as they. Now he's going to quote everyone else and this and that. But the fact is, if you guys want to know, no, this is a fact. February 14th to February 21st, it is a fact. Betty Shabazz, I'm gonna see the most beautiful thing about me is I have first person accounts. I've interviewed John Ali. I've interviewed Khalila Ali. I have first person accounts as to this. So this is going to be real easy for me to edit this up and let you know. But at the end of the day, Malcolm X did not want to go back to the nation. That he was in fear for his life. February 14th through February 21st. And that is a fact. He was doing interviews in the hopes.
There's a man who has a fact phobia. I'm having fun with you.
Oh, now you have fun.
Allow me to end of it. So allow me to have fun with my brother, because when you
interject me, it's fun. See now you see how he plays both sides. When you interject me, it's fun. When I interject you, I'm being disrespectful, brother. Right?
No,
let me finish.
You're making this too easy for me, beloved.
I appreciate you taking my line, but at the end of the day,
it's too easy for me.
If you want to understand this, all you got to do is the facts are there. February 14th through February.
We're going to cite some facts.
You can cite where you want to cite, but those are the truth. Betty Shabazz. No, listen. The Nation of Islam left Malcolm X family for dead. They wanted the house. They wanted the car. They took his $1,000 away. They wanted no way did he go back.
So
and justice, and this will come out, and I will gladly tag you in this. Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X had a conversation, had a conversation about what's going on in 65. And it's going to disprove everything that you say. Everything that you say. I have
say it.
No, because
because
I'm going to enjoy this. This is going to be very, very enjoyable for me. When John Ali tells me out of his own mouth, Malcolm X was a dead man walking, and he is basically the right-hand man. And 9 out of 10 Nation of Islam members of that time will say that he was his right-hand man. And he said Malcolm X was a dead man walking. So at the end of the day, no way, the energy is just not there. Betty Shabazz would not have allowed it. Betty Shabazz at this point, what he's not saying, at this point, Betty Shabazz has the greatest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell the people, because I'm gonna tell
them what I'm gonna say.
No, what I believe, what my findings say, what my first person accounts say. People who was actually in the house, who say those are not Elijah Muhammad's wives. Khalila Muhammad lived with you. I've been waiting 2 hours because I knew you. That's why I said how much time you have. So I'm just gonna basically tell you, it is a fact. Those are not Elijah Muhammad's wives. Khalila Muhammad, who lived with you call him the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, from the age 3 to 17. Muhammad Ali asked Elijah Muhammad, can he marry Khalila Muhammad? And they got married when she was 17. So y'all was falling in love with all this conversation. Now let's really talk. Now let's really have this conversation.
Well, I want to
let me please. Please. This is going to take some time now. This is going to take some time for me to finish this, and you can take your time and respond. He's going off of what he's read. He's going off of maybe conversations he's had with Louis Farrakhan.
You assume I don't have first?
No, I know you do. And feel free to use them. Feel free
to name jump now.
No, I don't want to name drop. Feel free to use them. I'm just going to say this. All this time, he has said those are not his wives. I have Elijah Muhammad. I have quotes from the conversations Muhammad Ali has had with his then wife, Khalila Muhammad. I have had conversations with John Ali, who said on the third floor of his house, he had so many secretaries. He said so many. I said, how many? He said he had so many. And at the end of the day, Khalila Muhammad was there for that conversation. And it's going to come out. I have it. Khalila Muhammad said she was there when Malcolm X went in that room and had that conversation. And she said she wished she could have been a fly on the wall for that conversation, because when Malcolm X came out of that room, he was hurt. And she served him, and they had the conversation. But guess what? I have that dialogue, and that's going to come out in some time. Now, the point of the matter is Khalila Muhammad lived with Elijah Muhammad, which is a fact. We have pictures every age of her life going to I forget the school. What's the Islam school? What's the name of it in Chicago? Muhammad University. She sat down with Clara Muhammad 3 days a week. 3 days a week, having conversations with Clara Muhammad about Elijah Muhammad taking all his secretaries and flying them to Phoenix, Arizona, doing whatever he does there. And I asked Khalila Muhammad, I said, was the Phoenix, Arizona home his whole house? She says, then some. She says, all those women were hoes. And she was in the house at the same time. And I want y'all to think I'm making this stuff up. I want y'all to think that I'm making this stuff up, because I have the interviews. And that's why I let you talk the whole time and give these facts, because I am going to edit this out and have a first person account. You were 40-something, 50-something years old. You wasn't there. I have people that are there. I have John Ali, who was there. And who said out of his own mouth, yeah, we all sat down we all sat down and I saw the pain in Claire Muhammad's eyes. We all sat down. He had all these women and we had dinner together on Sundays or something. I don't know what a day it was, but I have all of this. So the fact that he's saying that those were his wives, and I have two people, John Ali, who's a national secretary.
Malcolm X said they were his wives.
No, okay. I don't listen. I know you. Thanks for the interjection. Khalila Muhammad, who lived with Elijah from the age of 3 until she got married at 17 to Muhammad Ali. And I have the conversations her and Muhammad Ali had about the disgusting behavior of Elijah Muhammad. And the most powerful quote that he made.
So now the conversation is degenerating into you.
No,
you're not going to invite me on your platform.
Can I finish?
Just to disrespect the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Don't do that, brother.
Can I finish? I'm quoting.
I'm not that type of Muslim.
See how you're now.
Now don't do that.
Now you see how
I'm not going to sit here as a Muslim.
Now,
even though
why are you cutting me off? Why are you cutting me off?
And let you describe him as ignorant. Don't do that.
Okay, let me pull up the quote. Let me pull up the quote because you think I'm making shit up.
No.
Can you send me that quote, please? Because I think it's fair that we because
if the conversation is degenerating to that, and you want I want to talk about it. The subject is his renegotiation.
Okay, we're gonna have this conversation. Because
let me say this. Let me
just cut me off. You just cut me off, though. You just cut me off.
Yeah, because it's 11 minutes. I appreciated our time together. I really enjoyed it.
I'm gonna play. I want you to stay and listen to this, though.
No, because you're not gonna disrespect.
I'm not. I'm quoting. I'm quoting. I'm quoting. I'm not disrespecting nothing. I'm quoting.
You can't, Malcolm.
I'm quoting.
You're not gonna quote disrespect of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, not while I'm on the platform.
Married.
This is Louis Farrakhan speaking.
They produced for him.
You can always quote him.
I don't want nobody to be set out. That was his what? No, that was his woman or his hoe or whatever. It ain't no wife. And I'm being honest with you, and I'm being straight up with you, and I do not hold my tongue about the truth.
You wanted to use Malcolm, but I took Malcolm. Malcolm identified
your woman or whatever
you offer,
and it ain't your wife. And I hate to be rude or anything like that, but I'm just being honest. It's your trollop that you do anything you want with her, in spite of you having a wife and disrespecting her.
End quote. End quote.
No, that's her perspective.
She lived with Elijah Muhammad.
No, she's not more authoritative than Malcolm, who said wives.
I know.
You know. Now you know you didn't.
No.
Let's end it on that note. Let's end it. Our 11 minutes are up. I had a great time. Mm-hmm. Really, I did. This was fun. I hope your audience learned